Is the Computer Geek 010101001 here, and today we are back for the second video installment of the video series overviewing the Dukane Compact 3200 intercom system, which is extremely rare here in the USA. So, you might be wondering, what the heck are we doing today? Well, today, we are actually going to be taking this unit apart. Now you might be wondering, okay, what the heck, are you kidding me, seriously? I've taken this thing apart like a bajillion times before. In fact, I think our heater may have kicked on. No, it hasn't. Speaking of heater, we actually had to kick our heater on last night. That's because it got very cold over the period last night. We kicked on our heater at about, I don't know, 7:30 at night, I think. And yeah, the heater element hadn't been powered up in ages, so yeah, there was your expected burning smell. I don't know how the smoke detectors didn't all get set off. And my mom's taking my dog Landon outside. So that's what the background noise is. So yeah, let me get this thing turned around. Your cord unraveled here. So yeah. So I'm going to take my size P1 Craftsman Phillips screwdriver, and there's, let's see, 1, 2, and the first thing I will do is I am actually going to unscrew these two brackets here. As you can see, these are attached directly to the back panel. And in order for me to be able to get those fed through, I need to remove both of these brackets. So yeah. And as I said in the last video, this system was made in 1998. I think it was actually in May of '98 that this was made. This could have been put into service in the 1998-1999 school year. Now that I have the two brackets off, I will need to unscrew the two screws holding each of these on, so that's a total of 8 screws for 4 of these. So I am just going to quickly remove these. And I haven't had this thing apart in a while, so I think I had this thing last apart in July or mid-August. I think I last had this apart in July. In July, August, September, October, November. Yeah, I haven't had this thing apart in about 4 months. But yeah, when I first took this thing apart, these screws were close to near impossible to undo. I mean, come on, the unit was built in '98. And the first time I had this apart was the first time this unit had ever been apart. So yeah. Now that I have this screws undone, the way I feed these through is I pull them out slightly, then I turn them on an angle, and I just push them through. And I do this for all 4 of these. They did have intentions of this being serviced down the line. Now that we have those out, we can focus on some other things. Now, remember in the first installment how I said that our 24-volt output supply was totally unfused? Well, I seem to have absolutely no protection. Well, yeah, there's clearly a fuse present here, but I believe that only does this. So, let me check this fuse. See if it's totally unblown, guys. Look at this. Focus. Focus. Stop focusing on a blasted. Focus. Yeah, since I can't get this thing to focus on the fuse, let's try this again. Let's provide my... There we go. As you can see, it is totally unblown. And that is our 6 1/4 amp fuse, which is also responsible for our external 24-volt supply, also rated at 6 1/4 amps. Now, in the last installment, this thing was clearly powered up, but that's my dog Landon. But just for the lulz, let's check this. This is a 2 amp 250-volt slow blow. And the other fuse is 6 1/4 amp 250-volt slow blow. And as you can see, totally unblown. And I think this is actually a Busman fuse. I don't exactly know. But yeah. Most importantly, our 6 1/4 amp 250-volt fuse is totally unblown. So yeah. Don't know what's going on there. I don't know what the heck they were thinking when they made it to where you could short your external 24-volt supply, here, and they not run a protection thing to that. So yeah, don't know what they were thinking. Yeah, this is our external 24-volt supply, protected by this fuse only, as you will later see. Now that I have these gone, we can actually remove the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 screws holding this on. Now you might be wondering if this is for something else. It is not, as you will see later. So let me remove this before I forget. And we can begin removing all our other screws. Yeah. Now, as you will see when I get this thing off, as mentioned in the first installment, this here was actually for a radio antenna that led to a BNC plug in the back of the unit. I think it's a BNC plug. Some type of plug in the that's a wire tied to the back panel that would actually plug into an optional radio module you could either install yourself or have installed. How am I doing on the camera angle? Pretty good. So yeah. I love how this camera display can flip over. Now, sorry if I'm almost totally obstructing the view of the device. It's cold today. Now I'm having to use my elbow and hold this back cover on now. Some part of my body to hold this back cover on because it is literally just not supported. So yeah. And then I can just lift this right off. Yeah, that's a BNC. So here's our first look inside the unit for all you viewers. And before I can totally remove this back cover, there are some wires that have to be unplugged. So, first, we're going to unplug this cable, which is for our external, responsible for all of our external contacts. And this is a direct power supply output, 24 volts, 5 watts, and then we have a direct external amp input. So like, let's say we have an external amplifier, that's our input, and that goes straight to the amplifier stage of our power supply, which we will see later, and out to the rest of the unit. This here is for our program sources. More on that later. And this here is for our microcontroller reset button. And then we can just lift the back panel and straight away from the unit. Now, that's not it. Now, about this. This actually goes to a BNC jack right up here. Now, you're going to see later, as you can probably see now, no radio module installed in this unit. Though I do have intentions on adding a radio module to this unit. So yeah. Now that we have our back cover off, we are going to check out our situation here about our power, about our unfused direct 24 volt out. So viewers, you see that fuse? That literally just protects that only. In fact, I'll take our camera off the tripod here. And let's see. We have positive 24 volts in DC here. And then we have our ground. So, our positive 24 volts DC goes where does this go? Huh? Okay. Did I seriously hook this up backwards? Yes, I did. So I had the whole chassis. Darn you, focus blasting. So I had the whole chassis at 24 volts DC potential. Crazy. Now, if this were wired up correctly, here's the way it would work. You would have your positive 24 volts DC, and that would go straight to one side of your fuse. So, your other side of your fuse would go in here to your positive terminal. Then you would have your load, and then you would have your neutral fed back into this, and then that's supposed to go to ground. So yeah, I had the whole chassis at 24 volt potential. Crazy. Yeah, I literally had our 24 volt line wired up backwards, I believe. Now, let me flip this thing around. Oh yeah, about our date. I found this on the inside of our master control module, February 23rd, 1998. So yeah, that just proves that this thing was put into service in the, I think, 1998-1999 school year. So yeah. So, and I looked at the back label after I finished filming last night, and I noticed that the back label said, let me check, model number 12A3200-25. So that indicates to me that this was originally just a 25-room unit, and then it was later upgraded to a 50-room unit, 50-room system. So, let's get those off. We'll grab our handy-dandy long screwdriver, and let's begin removing these 25-channel room modules. Now, I actually lost 2 of the screws, so that's why there's a weird screw configuration on the top module here. So yeah. This system has seen quite a bit of use. Especially our top row, as our switches feel quite worn, especially the one for room 125. So yeah. And then, now that we have those loose, we do have a few connectors to unplug here at the back. This is, I believe, our main powered feed for our switch bank, maybe. And then this is something else. I don't know. I think one of these is our little control cable which actually informs the rest of the system that either, hey, somebody's calling in, or that there's an outgoing, or that there's an active conversation on X channel. On one of the channels with our variable X being defined as any one of the channels here. So yeah, now that we have these loose, the way I'm going to get these out, I use a decently sized flat blade screwdriver. Go to the end here, just pry up. And there's a connector here, so I'll unplug that. There's a connector at each end, so I'll unplug those. And then we have our lines fed to the back here that I need to remove. And we're snagging them on the end. There we go. And here's one of our 50-room modules. Very old. I honestly don't know what. Like, I seriously do not know why they actually bother to have 50 channels if they only use like 6 rooms of the second 25-room channel. So yeah. Here are all our wires, starting with 2 long little wires here, eventually ending up with like 50 wires right through here. And then they split this up. One for talking and one for something else, probably call-ins and stuff. I don't know. I've only had this system since this summer, and now that I have this out, the first module, I can literally just go into here and lift the second one right on out. Okay, so and I can also unplug 2 modules here. Only snagged on the end again, which they were. And again, quite similar to the first 25-room module, except that I ran this a little differently. See, it looks like we have a date code here of 3005. So, this makes me wonder, they actually upgraded this unit to a 50-room system in 2005, whenever they built the whenever they finished building the art high school and modernized the junior high. So, I mean, it clearly says 3005, which means this could have been manufactured 30th week of 2005. So yeah, and here's our leftover cables, which we can just put aside, and now my camera's Now the camcorder's taking a random photo for who knows what reason. Now we have our master control unit up here. Now the way you get this out, nothing out of the ordinary. You just have these two cables, which you just unplug. One is for our power supply, and the other one is for audio control. Quite simple. And just unplug those and set those aside as well. What is going on with my foot? Weird. So yeah. Now that we have this master control module unplugged, we can pull these side covers off, and we can proceed to use our handy dandy little screwdriver here and remove this module from our unit. Now this is actually quite a heavy module. So it does need some additional supports. It can barely hold itself on one screw. Yeah. There we go. As I said, quite a heavy module. So, yeah, you almost need 3 hands to put this in. Just pull that right out of the unit. Now, this is where it gets interesting. This master control module looks just plain Jane control module from the front, but this is all microprocessor controlled. See, there's an Intel. Like, I mean, there's even a firmware ROM chip in this thing. Apparently it's firmware version 1.03. This thing, I think this thing even has RAM. These are all... Yeah, we have plenty of ST Microelectronics chips. It's almost all ST Microelectronics and Motorola. I ought to Google that. Interesting. Intel P8OC31BH or L6521088B. Is that a variant of the Intel 8 processor? Is that seriously a variant of the Intel 8088 processor? I mean, get a good focus in on that. And then there's our Apparently the speaker magnet here is generating an electromagnetic field that my camera does not like. In reality, this is just a ST Microelectronics 9727E or P88AA. So if the video starts doing weird things, sorry. Yeah, Dukane Compact 3200. Look at this. ST Microelectronics. ULN 2803A. And then we have Motorola MC1405 18CP or F2Y 9650 chips. Over here we have a single solitary Motorola FXP 9719. Very interesting. Sorry. Very interesting. And we have our IC amp, which actually has Nichicon 1000 microfarad 50 volt caps. And also, the structure of our case is quite interesting. It's actually a paper cone speaker. So yeah, very interesting. I might just do a separate video alone on the master control panel. So yeah, I'm gonna get this out of the way. Let's finally turn this thing around. Quite literally. Just have to remove the power cable. Now, this is our power supply and amplifier chassis. Did I screw these in with a torque gun? I don't know what the heck I screwed those in with last time. Apparently something pretty strong. Cannot get those to budge. This is a predicament on video. It works just fine when I unscrew. Oh, there we go. Like it works just fine when I unscrew it on my own time. And the moment I record, it just goes wrong. Oh my gosh! Good Lord! What did they use? What did I use? Oh my god. My gosh. Oh my gosh. I'm not going to risk that. Because, I mean, that's our main power feed to the unit. If I hose that, then I just hose the whole system. But yeah. I think that's about as far as we're going to be able to get with the actual unit itself. But, I mean, we have a very interesting case design, I will add. Like, our case can actually split into like 1,000,000 sections. They really intend on this thing being serviced and repaired. But, if I go into that, I'll just make this video 100 hours long. Now, sorry if the camera was just off center for the duration of the video right up until I adjusted it. So yeah. So let's see. You know, I ought to go grab some photos of these chips. So that way I can Google them and get some documentation on them. There we go. On my phone. Camera. Let's see. Focus. Okay, let's see. That didn't work out. I literally just got blank chips. I did get a really good macro shot of the PCB. Like, see, they're just blank! Or... I mean, it could help us on this Intel microprocessor. There we go. Got it. There's our microprocessor. And then there's our firmware chip. Zoom out. It really is a hard time. pretty sure if I go way out on these other chips. Holy cow. Yeah. I'm just playing around with my focus. Trying to get these blasted chips. Okay. One last Motorola chip. There we go. So yeah, at this point, looks like it's time to start putting this unit back together. And then once we get this thing back together, we should be able to carry on the next part of this second installment. And it's not what you think it is. So yeah, we'll just get everything screwed in here. Okay, and we can put our two 25 channel modules back into the unit. First, we need to grab our control, our wires and stuff for that, and connect those back into our power supply / amp. Meanwhile, let's go ahead and connect our power supply back up to our master control board. Audio control. Okay. So there we go. For that. And now we're going to hook up our switch bank and 2 switch bank supplies. Sorry. Yeah, it's kind of a pain in the rear trying to get these switch banks put back in. Oh, that's an interesting feature. Because, I mean, like, everything has to clear the amp. Like, I mean, the amp gets very hot during operation. In fact, I could probably power this... thing up open and just show y'all. So I got some new gear the other day. And then before I can get that all put back in, before I can get that screwed back in, I have to feed other two, feed our other two lines right to that, right past the amp. Hook this thing up correctly. There we go. Yeah, you kind of have to slide these in tandem. Now, you might be wondering what I mean, but yeah, what I mean is, like, you kind of have to slide these in at the same time, or else you won't get these to fit. And then once these are in, I can just go in and screw these on. So, yeah. Lose a screw or something. Hope not. Found our problem. And I'm just going to swap these. So yeah, and one thing I find neat about the selection buttons is that when you press them, these two beige shutters fold out of the way to reveal either blue or red. Red for emergency, blue for everything else. I don't think our tone one was meant to stick down. So yeah. Oh, and also I can, when I said I can show you that amp gets quite hot, I really can. I got a thermometer, not today, Thursday, I think, Wednesday or Thursday. And I have confirmed it is fully functional. Okay, that goes here. It goes there. And that goes here. And you can tell where this goes. Nice. So, cosmetically from the front, it looks like it's fully operational. I'm going to flip this thing around. It also looks fully operational. Except for the fact that your raw mains voltage right here the moment you plug this thing in. So, yeah. I'm going to have to unplug our light here, but here we go. And that's that. And we now have mains voltage right there, 24 volts out there. But our back panel is disconnected, so we don't exactly, so we can't do a line in or anything. I'm going to pull some more extension cord out. But yeah, turn up our listen level. And then there's our tone. And then here's our tone. Program selection tone. Now let me turn our listen level down. Listen for a relay click. That relay is actually coming from, that relay click is actually coming from our amplifier. So yeah. Now, the reason why that relay clicks, that's because the relay down in the amplifier, I don't want to get too carried away, actually, that relay clicking in the amplifier actually takes whatever audio input you're getting out the speaker and just runs it right out to the rest of the channels. So yeah, so in regular operation, if you wanted to do an all call to the building, you would have hit all and panel mic, and then you would have said, and then what you would have said what you wanted to say through the microphone here out to all the channels, and then you would have just released, your function. Now, if you had like an external microphone connected up, you would have pressed mic 1, said what you wanted to say, and then released it. Now, tape tuner. That would be if you actually had the optional radio module installed. Like say you had a tuner and set to, I don't know, 1015. That's what we have here in East Texas as a country station. Like you just wanted to, like it was a fun day and you wanted to run the radio over the intercom, you would just mash all and hit tape tuner. Now what if you wanted to only do certain rooms? Well, if you only wanted to run the tuner to certain rooms, well, you would have pressed select, like let's say 113, 128, Computer Lab 1, and 122. Don't forget 104. Yeah, you would have put these rooms. You would have put the respective switches in the down position, which means whatever program selection function you have here, it will go to only those rooms. And then you would have pressed your respective programs function, which is tape tuner in this case, and fed it out to those specific rooms. Now, on the back panel, there are auxiliary inputs. These are RCA line level inputs. Here's auxiliary 1, stereo, and auxiliary 2, mono. So, if you wanted auxiliary 1 and 2, to all channels, you would have just mashed all, and then mashed 1 and 2. What if you only wanted auxiliary 1 to all channels? Mash auxiliary 1. Auxiliary 2? Same thing. Now what if you wanted to do that to certain channels? You would have hit select, and then you would have pressed your specific function. Like say you want to send a tone out to these rooms, mash tone. Do the panel mic to these rooms, mash panel mic. Mic 1, same thing. Tape tuner, same thing. In fact, you could you can do it all here. Crank our listen level down. So yeah. Now, emergency. By default, this is by default and by default only. All channels, non-controllable volume. You would have mashed your push to talk button, and by default this uses the panel microphone. Now listen to the relay. Yeah, okay, now I'm just going silly with it. Yeah, that relay click, again, all channels. Now tone, all channels. And you can lock that thing on. Intercom. our intercom push-to-talk button. So, intercom, two-way chat between a certain room or channel. Say room 114. You would flick the switch into the up position, say what you want to set. You would mash your push-to-talk button, say what you want to say, release it, and wait for a reply. Blah 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 blah. Blah 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 blah. And then when you're done, you just flick it back into center position. Yeah, and this thing can get kind of overloaded. Now there's actually a relay over on this side of the unit in the master control panel thing, which is this, that switches between listening to what's going on the end of the channel and speaking to that channel. So yeah, and this thing can get kind of busy when you have all of them on. Sometimes that relay will kick itself in and out. And notice how there's a heavy 60 Hertz buzz in the speaker. Yeah. Yeah. So that's just a basic overview of the front panel and its respective functions. So yeah, I'm gonna pull that all the way down, get us a tone, and then I'm gonna flip all these channels up, and then I'll unplug it. Now, there's actually a massive, just an absolutely massive electrical transformer inside our amplifier. And that thing sees a very, very heavy load at the time you switch the system on or apply power. Very, like, extraordinarily heavy loads. So yeah. And this thing really hasn't been on for a while, so I can't really show you exactly how hot this thing gets. Unfortunately. Also 24-volt lines. Can't short the 24-volt line. So yeah, that 24-volt line's dead. So yeah, this is, let's see, on top, bottom. So yeah. And the way I put this back panel back on, first let me get my light running again. Since I had it unplugged for the intercom. Yeah, the way I put this back cover on again is first I feed these straight through. I don't even bother with trying to get them flush in or anything. I really just feed them right through, and then I connect up all of our external stuff. Which really isn't that much. I think the hardest one to plug in is our reset switch. And that's mainly because I can't even find where the blasted thing plugs in. But yeah, plug everything in. I take a screw and apply it, usually somewhere in the center of the unit. And seriously, trust me when I say this, but this thing is a behemoth. Like, I mean, this thing is just huge. I mean heavy, actually. This thing is so heavy. It was downright near impossible. It was downright near impossible to get this thing up off the ground yesterday. Like, I mean, this is a 45, 50-pound unit. 90% of that, and like 90+% of that weight comes from the power supply amp chassis alone, and then 94% of that weight from the power supply amp chassis happens to come from the main power transformer. I'm going to stop the camera and get this thing put the rest of the way back together.